I was really involved in the Cyprus settlement when I worked in New York. The president of Cyprus came to the General Assembly every year. He invited the ambassadors of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council every year in this regard. They talked about how to implement the principles that were enshrined in the decisions of the Security Council.
Говорили о том, как реализовывать те принципы, которые были закреплены в решениях Совета Безопасности.
We talked, of course, about those failures on the way to solving the Cyprus problem. The last concrete attempt of the beginning of the 2000s. Kofi Annan's plan for what year can you remember? When my good friend, the Kingdom of Heaven, one great Secretary General, he took a risk and, on the advice of his assistants, proposed a plan that slightly changed the decision of the Security Council in favor of weakening the future central government and a virtual unified state.
Чуть-чуть менял решение Совета Безопасности в пользу ослабления будущей центральной власти, эвентуального единого государства.
Well, that is, the Greeks, the Cypriots would have less authority. There was a referendum, and the referendum rejected this plan. Since then, I don't know anything more specific. I know that our Turkish neighbors directly say that these are 2 equal states, that it will not work any other way. We need to negotiate. We do not have any magic scheme that we would suggest, and even more so would impose, and there cannot be. The interests of one and the other people must be taken into account. And the countries that are permanent members of the Security Council, they were seen as guarantors of this process. Recently, as I understand it, including with the consent of Nicosia, this 5 is not going to. The Cypriot leadership is working, as I suspect, with the United States. We wish only one thing, that the Cypriots live as they want both in the north and in the south. We have a lot of Russian citizens living, more in the south, of course, but more than 10,000 live in the north. We provide them with consular services. We don't have a permanent consular office there, like some of the British type, but we have organized the service there. And we want the Cypriots to decide how they should continue to live. I understand that there are partners among the modern leaders of Cyprus who would not just like the Cypriots to decide as soon as possible, but who tell them how they need to decide, including joining NATO, for example, including changing their domestic legislation, to annoy the Russians who transferred money to your country's bank. In other words, just as Serbia is told what price to pay for membership in the European Union, so Cyprus is told, let's join NATO. There will be no problems in NATO there, because we will all be allies, and everything will be fine with the North. But we need to make sure that you have fewer Russians here. You would remember less about your common history there. We do not interfere in internal affairs.